Good morning, everyone. It is 9:31. I will call this meeting to order. My name is Arlisha Wilson. I'll be the chair of the meeting today. Thank you all for being here. We're going to move right through the agenda and we'll get started with the preamble. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Liz Kukla. I'm the Secretary of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm going to read the preamble for you this morning, this Monday, February 3rd. In compliance with notification requirements of the city's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conduct its meetings according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Abstentions from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting have the opportunity to be heard, we ask that you use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. Please note that calling users can unmute by using *6. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube for public view. We have provided a link to the meeting for those who wish to speak on our particular case via our website and email. All requests to speak on a particular matter have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Can we go ahead with the roll call, please?
Sure. Mr. Madison?
Present.
Ms. Holzer?
Present.
Ms. Roca?
Present.
Ms. Faith will be absent this morning.
Okay.
And Ms. Wilson?
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum with 4 members. We should announce to the appellants that with 4 members, they run the risk of a tied vote. In order for the vote to pass, that must be a positive vote of 3. At this time, the appellant can request to postpone the case to another date when we would have 5 members. But again, if the vote is not passed by 3 votes, then it is denied.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone who requests a postponement today? All right, hearing none. Do we have any other requests for postponements today, Madam Secretary?
We have one withdrawal, Madam Chair, I should announce. Calendar number 24-221, appeal of David Keever from the decision of the Commissioner of Assessments and Licenses regarding denial of a tow truck application. We were informed by the city that they have worked out the issue, and the license has been issued.
Nice.
So there'll be no testimony on calendar 24-221 today.
Okay. Any other postponements or withdrawals?
We have one for sure. That's calendar number 24-183 at 2010 Torbinson Drive. GNFI LLC proposed to establish a type A daycare in an A1 one-family residential district. The appellant is asking for more time to acquire the authorization letter and to meet with the community. This would be the 2nd, I believe. So maybe we should look at the end of March to give them a little extra time.
I think so.
Let me check that date. March 24th or March 31st?
Let's do 31st.
Okay, so if anybody is here for that case, this case will not be heard today. It'll be heard on March 31st. If you received a letter in the mail, you will receive a letter in the mail again 10 days before the hearing. And I would defer to Mr. Bay if there are any other postponements at this time that he may be aware of.
This is Xavier Bay. No, to the chair, nothing I'm aware of.
All right, so that concludes our postponements for the morning. Let's go ahead and read the rules of the hearing. I'll turn that over to Mr. Madison, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here today. The rules of the hearing and engagement are very simple. Please respect each other and respect the board. Please speak clearly for the record so that our court reporter can record today's session, and we encourage one voice at a time. Do not speak unless recognized by the chair. This is not a back and forth engagement, so please be mindful of that. Hold your comments until the speaker is done, and at the request of the chair, we could implement a 2-minute time frame just to make sure that we're moving today's session along. With that said, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Madison. I'll go ahead and call the first case. We'll start with calendar number 24-220. Is there an appellant present for this case? All right, perfect. While you come to the table, I'll have Ms. Holzer read the case in, please.
Thank you. Our first case is calendar number 24-220. This is at 9201 Crane Avenue. FOB Real Estate LLC owner proposes to add a gymnasium and office space to an existing school in a C1 General Retail Business District. Sorry? Oh.
Sorry, I just wanted to let you know.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
In a C1 General Retail Business District and a B2 Semi-Industry District, parenthetically split. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 6, with a note that a lot consolidation is required. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state I do. State your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do. My name is Carter Edman, Carteredman. I'm the Director of Design for Maroos Brothers Construction. And you want Maroos Brothers address or my personal?
Sure. Maroos Brothers.
Okay. 36933 Vine Street. Excuse me. Lee, Ohio, 44094.
Thank you. And you, sir?
My name is Juan Lugo, Lugo. I'm the Director of Facilities for Breakthrough Schools.
I'm sorry.
I'm the Director of Facilities for Breakthrough Schools.
And the address?
It's 3615 Superior Avenue.
Okay. And do you swear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the phone? I see.
Yes, Council
Okay.
President, Blaine Griffin, Council President, 601 Lakeside. I do.
Thank you. Anyone else on the call? Hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Board Member Roca. We'll turn to the history of the case, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. There are no variances on file. And then in the I would also state that there are many, many permits in the system and the Accel system for this address. The highlights are that a new school was constructed in 1997, and then in 2020, a permit was issued to erect an addition. And again, there are no variances on file. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Secretary. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the landscaping, parking, lighting, and bicycle requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I will turn now to the project team. Which of you would like to speak?
Yep, I'll start. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
As I said, my name is Carter Edman. I'm Director of Design for Maroos Brothers Construction. Maroos Brothers is the design builder for this project. I'll start by just sort of familiarizing us all with sort of the scope of the project and the nature of it, and then I'll just go through kind of item by item if that's all right. So if you could go back to the kind of the aerial view. There, thank you. So this is the site. North is actually down on this image. The original school was built by CMSD in, I believe, 1971. And then you can see at the sort of lower left portion of that, where that newer, brighter roof is, that's the addition that was mentioned that was permitted in 2020. That addition includes the parking lot that's adjacent to it. The current proposed project, and if we can go to sheet L100, which was also part of the submission, the current proposed project, yeah, there you go. And I think we can probably use this image for most of the discussion. So this is flipped around. North is up here. The current The proposed project is a gymnasium and some associated offices and support spaces to the west of the existing building. So in a current paved area, if you're familiar with the site, there was a funeral home there, which has been purchased and demolished by the Friends of Breakthrough Schools. We are currently in the process of lot consolidation, which was already mentioned. The lot consolidation has been approved by surveys at the City of Cleveland. I do not believe it has been registered with the county yet, but it has been approved, and the plans examiner for the project has acknowledged that. The heavy dotted line here is the scope of work. So that is where we are planning to do work, both constructed work, the building, the site work, the landscaping, and so forth. I mention that because a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about with areas outside the scope of work and requirements outside the scope of work. But the basic scope is the gym, this sort of interstitial building between the gym and the main school. And then there's a sort of a drop-off plaza for the students and parents. I should note that the new construction is a separate building. There's a 2-hour fire separation between the two. It has its own water, its own sprinkler service, all that. Although with the lot consolidation, they will all be on the same parcel. It's a single story, fully sprinklered, and basic single wide masonry construction for the gymnasium. So gymnasium. Any questions on the scope or the nature of the project itself? Okay. So I'll just start down the list of items. So item number 1, we have submitted a landscape plan. We did not submit it with the original permit submission simply because the original permit submission was just for underground and utility work. So it was a phase 1. We did not have the landscape and fully defined at that time, but we have subsequently submitted that. This is it. As I mentioned, the landscape plan identifies all the work being done within the scope of work. It does include some new trees along the street. We have 3 honey locusts. We've identified honey locusts. We're open to other suggestions, but that is a very hardy tree. It's very common as a street tree in Cleveland. It has really beautiful fall foliage, and some other plantings. There's also some trees on the south side of the gym to provide a little greenery there as well. So that has been submitted. We haven't received any comments back on that yet, but we believe that covers that item. Item 2 is the 6-foot wide landscape strip required between parking and streets. And I should say that all of these items within the scope of work will come compliant. We're all really talking about outside the scope of work. So within the scope of work, we have I believe 8 parking spaces. They actually have a landscape buffer and a building between them and the street. But as you go around the rest of the site, that's where this question arises. We investigated doing this, and I should say we met with the planner, Kenyon Gray, for this area, and we met with the CDC as well. You can see there are 2 main parking areas. One is in the northeast, which was part of the 2020 expansion, and one at the southwest, which is an older sort of conglomeration of parking where we did not plan any improvements. This is probably the biggest potential cost item we see out there, particularly as it relates to the 2020 addition, which obviously newly built and was approved with the landscape buffer that it has, which includes a smaller green strip. I believe it's 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet, with a.
Yeah, it's about 3.5 feet with boxwoods.
With a fence and greenery. This would require cutting up the new parking lot, reducing the parking spaces that are there that are used by faculty and staff, and adding more sod essentially. That's probably one of the biggest cost hardship items. On the southwest lot, I want to just kind of familiarize us a little bit with that because we'll be talking about the configuration of that. We are doing some reconfiguration outside of the scope as requested by Fire Marshal to increase radius for fire truck access. That's later here in the submission. So we are absorbing the cost of that. We understand the necessity for that. As we do that and reconfigure some of those curb cuts and aprons, most of this parking area has a buffer between parking and the street. Really, the only two areas that don't, on the south side, you can see there's a little triangular hatched area for the diagonal parking. We could lose a parking space and put a buffer there if required. And at the northwest corner of that lot, there's one parking space there at the very northwest corner that we could also lose if necessary. And we believe that that lot would then be in compliance. There wouldn't be any spots with less than 6 feet of greenery or another structure between the parking space and the curb. So we're requesting relief from primarily the northeast spot and the cutting up of that lot. Any questions about the parking buffer? Okay. And number three, the bumper guards. Again, we are providing bumper guards within our scope of work. We are requesting relief from on all of the existing parking lot. Another concern here is that while we're not upgrading or renovating that existing parking lot at this time, that may be a future project. So a lot of this work may need to be undone at that time too.
Just commenting too on the bumper guards, if we were to install them, that will really make plowing the lot very difficult. And this lot as it is how it's existed for quite a while, and we haven't had any issues in terms of, cars hitting each other or anything like that.
Okay.
Thank you. Item 4, a TOD plan or a TDM plan that has been submitted. We believe, based on our calculations, that we meet the requirements based on the size and occupancy of the building for the TDM plan. We have not received comment back from planning on that yet, but the TDM plan has been submitted. Item 5, this item actually cites an ordinance that was passed after we submitted for permit for this, so we believe it's not applicable. In addition, we would cite the same hardships of expanding beyond the intended scope of work of the project. There currently is some site lighting on the existing parking lot. We believe that we're confident that the northeast lot is compliant. We don't know what the foot candle levels are on the existing parking lot, but there is some site lighting there. Item number 6, the 4 bicycle parking spaces, we are providing that. We have added that and included that in this site plan. Those are all the items. There's some additional drawings here which we can look at if you want to get into more detail. We have, for example, the fire access plan and so forth. But as I mentioned, we have sat down with the planner and the CDC to review this as well.
Okay, so it's my understanding that you are in compliance with number 6 and also in compliance with number 4. Am I hearing you correctly?
6 and 4, yes, that is correct.
So 4
And 1.
and 1. Okay. All right. Did you have other comments that you would like to add? Okay. All right. And I'll ask for questions from the board if there are any.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question regarding the lighting and just the safety of the property. Without the lighting in some of the proposed areas, can you maybe just speak to the safety of the location itself?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we've been using this parking lot. We had a really good relationship with Gaines Funeral Home prior to that. So we actually had an agreement. We were plowing it for them, and we were using the parking lot all along, and we've been using it. And we do have, there's lighting there. So there's basically a couple of poles on the southwest side of the building. And our intention is also to add to, in the new construction, some wall packs. So we're going to be well lit. We also have in our existing building wall packs that go all along and shine light that way as well. We're sensitive to the fact that there is a home, like in the very southwest corner, there is a house there So we want to be careful not to, to cause issues with them in terms of additional lighting. And again, if you go, I've been there at night and it's well lit. I mean, I don't know that there's the 2.5-foot candle, I think is the requirement. We haven't done a test, but we do have sufficient lighting. And the challenge here is if to add additional lighting now, all the wire, the poles, wiring, it is quite an expense. And I don't think there's a lot of win for that because it's already well lit. We haven't had any issues. I feel like to do that would be expensive and it's not really going to get us, I don't think, too much more than we already have.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, to the appellants, can you please describe what your hardship and difficulty you'll face if these variances aren't granted today?
Thank you to the chair. Essentially, the hardship is the cost, and each item on the response has a cost associated with it. It would also affect the schedule. We haven't done a revised schedule based on these items yet. Obviously, this very anxious to get the gym open for the students, but it would essentially be the cost and the schedule.
And then a follow-up question. So you've made some changes to your plan and you've resubmitted your drawings with the new landscaping buffer, et cetera, to the department.
We have not included the landscaping that I talked about that we could do for those two spaces. This is the landscape plan that we have resubmitted. We also submitted the geometry plan for the fire access. The way we've done that geometry plan, it still could accommodate those additional spaces being converted into green space.
And if you didn't have those additional spaces, you would not need the variance? Or go ahead.
We still would for the northeast,
The north.
the new parking lot. That's right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so as we looked at it, there is green space existing now. I mean, it's just not the 6 feet. It's about 3.5 feet. And we put boxwoods in. The hardship, I mean, so we are spending, is it about 120,000?
For the
other
cuts.
Curb cuts and a gas line that has to be moved, gas manifold, and other requests that have been made. So we already are having this expense beyond what our budgeted amount was of about 120,000.
That's right.
And this is going to add another 100 and change. So that's the hardship part of it. The timing of it, this school is very quite a bit utilized by our students. Right now, there's a multi-purpose room that serves as our gym. It's inadequate, it's small for the gym, but because it's also supposed to have been a lunchroom and we have so many children in the space, all the children currently are eating in the classrooms because that space is used only for gym during the day. So getting this gym would do a world of good for our students, being able to then move into actually have a lunchroom for socialization and then be able to have the gym. And again, we're planning to use the gym, of course, for weekend activities for the kids. So any delay just puts us beyond, we're struggling. We want to try to get it done this year so that actually next year we'll be having the kids in the gym and enjoying it. So those are the things. It's the cost and the timing.
Thank you. Madam Chair, when we get to it, I just would like to hear Ms. Leonard's opinion on the landscape buffer issue.
Do you want to have her chime in now,
Um,
please?
Sure, Ms. Leonard, would you like to opine on the landscape buffer issue?
Yeah, good morning. The landscaping and the lighting came into play in, the landscaping buffer has always been there, but the, variance regarding the outdoor parking and the lighting illumination, that was passed by council on November 4th, 2024. Became effective on November 6th, 2024. And the application did come into building and housing originally on October 23rd, 2024. So the applicant is correct in stating that number 5 would not apply to them based on receiving that current application before the effective date of that ordinance. However, I know that the ordinance was passed because of the concern of safety around parking lots and the amount of break-ins across the city.
Thank you, Ms. Leonard. Does that answer your question, Board Member Roca?
Well, I actually know. With regard to the buffer, they're giving us an option of removing some parking or not. Did you hear that testimony? Is that correct?
That's correct. We would We would consider removing 2 parking spaces, one at the south entrance along Crane Avenue and one at the west entrance along 91st Street.
At the request of the fire department?
No, this was just through discussions with the city planner and the CDC. We were talking about like, you know, we want to have the right thing on the perimeter, right? But, you know, tearing up a newly approved, newly built parking lot is a challenge. So we thought, well, here's a couple opportunities to green this up a little bit and get a little bit of space between pedestrians and parked cars.
Right. So Ms. Leonard, that's what I was asking for. Thank you for the additional information that you provided. But with respect to that, what is your opinion on the need to remove those parking spaces or not?
The applicant asking that they'll comply with and provide the 6 feet landscaping strip.
I don't think she's clear about your question. Can you re-ask your question?
So the applicant is saying that if they need to remove some parking to have additional landscape and greenery in the area, they would be willing to do so. And I'm asking whether that is necessary or not.
I mean, if they meet the code and show on the site plan that they have 6 feet of landscaping between the parking and the streets, then they won't need the variance anymore. But if it's not 6 feet of landscaping in the frontage strip along the parking lot and street, then they would still need the variance.
Would it be 6 feet if you remove the parking?
Yes, in those locations.
Okay, so you wouldn't need the variance.
We still would for the northeast parking lot.
Okay.
So
Is it what would you like to do? I'm trying to determine whether you need this variance. I mean, I guess you need it for one area, so no matter what, you need it.
That's correct.
I think as we look at the property, we are adding quite a bit of green space, like all along the Union side, which is a higher traffic area. We're adding green space and we're adding trees. The Crane side, which is actually the main address, is a very small street it's one way during arrival and dismissal, so it's not really used very much as East 91st. It's not a high traffic area. We could, if we did that, adding those spaces, there is a cost associated with it, and we'd allow for green spaces. It's really not a lot. So, I mean, I think the cost associated, I would prefer not, because the cost of doing that, any penny we take is less money for our kids. You know, so, I mean, we could do it, but we'd like to.
You've answered my question. Yes, thank you so much.
All right, does that conclude your
Yes,
questions?
all good.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, any words from our council president? Mr. Griffin, do you want to chime in?
No, thank you. I think you guys made some great suggestions. I support this project. The only thing that I would ask is that we really look at traffic patterns in that area. I know that we've had challenges in the past with, traffic jams and other things like that over in that area. So I would just really encourage them to make sure that they continue to work with traffic engineering to keep that flow of traffic, because it doesn't look like this will significantly impact that. But I know that it has been a problem in the past, but I support the project.
Okay, thank you, Council President.
Speak a little bit to the traffic. We're not increasing the number of students or staff. So the number of cars that will be going will not be increased. And actually, by changing right now, the way it went before is people would go right directly onto Union, which is the busiest street. By changing the direction we're doing now, everybody was going to come onto Crane and then empty out onto East 91st and have an option of going north or south. So I think it's actually going to improve a little bit the traffic overall during arrival and dismissal, which of course is the busiest part of it for us.
Okay. All right. Any comments from city planning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Xavier Bay, representing City Planning. This project received final approval from City Planning Commission November 15th, and we're all in support of the variances you're requesting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bay. Madam Secretary, any correspondence on this matter?
Excuse me, Madam Chair. No, we didn't receive any letters or anything.
Okay.
Excuse me.
I see that there is a.
I was just going to mention that, Madam Chair. There's a hand raised by Darlene.
Darlene, I can see that your hand raised. Are you looking to speak in this matter?
Well, yes, I just had a question.
I wasn't sure
Sworn
what
in.
time.
Okay,
I
okay.
would-
Hold on one
on.
second. If you're intending to speak in this matter, we do have to swear you in, so we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Ms. Roca?
Sure. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please state your name, spell your name, and give your address, and say I do.
Yes, 3518 East 91st Street, Cleveland, Ohio. I do. My name's Darlene Carmichael.
Okay,
you.
thank you for that. Go ahead with your comment, please.
I wanted to know, was there a picture of how the finished building structure would look? I was really curious to see the photo. But we are excited about the project for the children and having this building structure here in the neighborhood. So we are looking forward to having the building, started soon for the children. All of the community, we do look out for the children, their safety, and we see them exercising, having fun. And I think, the structure would help when the weather changes and gets a little harsh for the children. But we are curious as to how the structure would look. Do you have a photo today that could be shared?
Madam Chair, thank you for the comments, ma'am. We did submit to planning images of what it looks like, although I don't think they were part of the package for this meeting. But I can tell you, so I can maybe paint a visual picture a little bit. So the new addition to the school that's on the sort of on the corner of Union and 93rd. It has that block and the blue metal panels.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll be using the same materials. So the gym would be a little bit taller. It's about as tall as the two-story building. Obviously a gym is a little bit of a taller space. And it would have the same split face block, so it has that texture on it and the masonry, and it would have the blue metal panels above. And then there's a little sort of between the gym and the main school building where there's some offices and a multi-purpose room. And that would also have the same material. So it'll also be the same silver window frames, a lot of the same materials that you see. And then there will be a little bit of a green space. I don't know if you're able to see the screen or not, but there'll be sort of a green space all around with a couple of trees and a little drop off. They don't really have a drop off plaza right now. So it's a little bit awkward for the kids, but there would be a little drop off plaza for them. Is that helpful?
Yes, that's helpful hearing the description. Would there be any photos available afterward? Do you have any at the school where neighbors could come in the lobby and maybe see how?
We do have renderings that were done of the project. We could make them available. I'd have to check to see with the school in terms of, I don't know, unfortunately, the world we live sometimes in terms of getting people into the building during an active school day may not be possible, but perhaps after school, maybe in the vestibule, we could post them so people could look at them.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
I'm really excited to see the project occur quickly, and I do and have to agree with Councilman Blaine Griffin. If the traffic, it's okay for East 91st Street. If the traffic, pans out all right, I think the neighbors will really be happy to see it.
All right,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you for chiming in today, Ms. Darlene. Is there any other questions from the board before we entertain a motion? All right, hearing no questions, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, please.
if we could sort out which ones are still needed.
Yes.
I have,
So my understanding is number 5 is no longer needed. Number 4 is also no longer needed as the plan has been submitted. And number 6
And one.
is no
And
longer
one.
needed. Yes, and 1.
So 2-5.
So it looks like the only variances that we will vote on today will be number 2 and number 3. We all on the same page?
I was under the impression that they still
What was the
needed
two?
5 because they hadn't actually surveyed to see where all the poles were.
No, Ms. Leonard chimed in and said that they would not
because
need
they
that one
happened
because
after.
of dates.
Council.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Action.
All right, so we're going to move forward with a vote on number 2 and number 3. I will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, based on testimony we've heard today, I move that we approve calendar number 24-220.
Second.
All right, can we call the roll?
Oh,
Uh-oh, Ms. Leonard, go ahead.
So the number for number 1, they intend to meet all of the landscaping requirements.
I believe so, with the
That is
honey
in the
locust
testimony.
and.
Yeah, yes, so the, the, the item was that the landscape plan had not been submitted. Landscape plan has been submitted now. And the requirements, we haven't heard a comment back from plan review on that yet, but we believe all the requirements are met within our scope of work.
So then you're saying that you will have the frontage strips along the streets?
I think the issue is that we wouldn't just be looking at where the project is, we have to look at the entire parcel. So regardless, we would need to vote on it. Right, correct?
So is it your understanding that you're going to comply with number one or not comply? Go ahead.
No, not on the existing property where there's already a 3.5-foot strip. We would like to avoid having to go through the expense of adding the other 2.5 feet of strip, which would require all these additional work and delays. So we would not comply strictly to it because instead of a 6-foot strip, we'll have what we can currently have, which is about a 3-foot strip.
That's really item two.
And that's item,
Yeah.
yes.
So item one was just the requirement to submit a landscape plan. And then items two and the subsequent items are the specific landscape requirements. Is my understanding.
Ms. Leonard, you want to chime in there?
Yeah, the section 35207B2B is that any expansion requires a landscaping plan and it is required to conform to the landscaping requirements. And at that time, no landscaping details provided. I'll leave it.
Okay.
So
So it sounds like we should go forward with the vote on number 1, 2, and 3. All right. With that, I will entertain a motion. If it's consistent, we'll just do the same thing. Just let's revote to
Motion
make sure.
still stands,
Okay.
Madam Chair. I move to approve calendar number 24-220.
Okay, is there a second?
second,
All right, let's call the vote.
And Madam Chair, if we could have it noted that we'll be waiting for that revised drawings showing the landscaping detail. I don't have that unless it was uploaded to the SELA. Is that what you're saying, sir?
It was submitted to Building and Housing. I can make sure you have it as well.
Yes.
Is it as part of?
Get that for
No, it's a adjudication response to package 1.
Okay, so we'll have you submit that to the secretary as well.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
all right.
And it should also show the bike parking,
Yes, it does.
and I think that's it. I think the lighting was covered.
Mhm,
Okay. So we have a second was Mr. Madison.
mhm.
Ms. Holzer?
Yes.
Mr. Madison?
yes.
Ms. Roca? Ms.
Yes.
Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 24-220 is granted conditionally. We'll hold it until we get that drawing showing the landscaping. Once we receive it, we'll ratify it the following Monday. We'll send you a letter, but you can contact us that Wednesday after the vote for further instruction.
All right, good luck with your project.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
All right, I am now going to call the next case, which is calendar number 24-223 at 338 West 98th Street. Is there anyone present for this matter? Okay, are you the appellant or are you just here to give your opinion as a neighbor? You're the appellant? Okay, please come forward to the table. Ms. Holzer, I'll have you read the case in.
Our next case is calendar number 24-223. This is at 3338 West 98th Street. Cody and Elizabeth Noguera, owners, propose to change the use of an existing 2-family residence to a 3-family residence in a B1 2-family residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 3. And with that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, state I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address.
I do.
Your, whichever address you're comfortable giving on the record, and your mic is not on.
Start over?
Yes.
Okay. I do, Abe Abdullah, ABE, 1486 Barclay Boulevard, Westlake, Ohio, 44145.
Thank you so much, sir. Is there anyone on the call who's present for this case? I see someone's hand up. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, good morning. My name's Elizabeth Noguera, Elizabeth. My address is 3520 Princeton Avenue, San Diego, California, 92117. And I do.
Thank you.
Ma'am, can you spell your last name for us, please?
Oh, yes. Noghera. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the call who would like to speak today? Anyone else in the room? I think we're all set, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Roca. I'll turn to the history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's been no change in the zoning since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found that in 1917, a permit was issued for a one-story addition. There are no variances on file. And then we did also find in our records some conflicting information. We did see that in 1955, a permit was issued for 3 gas openings and a mention of 3 electrical outlets. 3 electrical, I think that's what they would call it, an outlet in 1955. And then in 2019, we see there was a rental registration issued to the property stating that the use was 3 units. And then in 2019, a certificate of disclosure was issued stating that the use is as 2-family. So I believe, Madam Chair, we're here today to clear all that up. Yeah, thank you.
So much. I'll turn to legal now.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance and an area variance from the minimum lot area requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship, particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property. Without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. To obtain the area variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code. There's a note that section 337.03C states that the Board of Zoning Appeal may grant special permits for the remodeling of existing dwelling houses to provide for more than 2 dwelling units, provided that, and the 2 sections cited are, number 1, the square feet of lot area to be allotted to each dwelling unit is in accordance with the area regulations included in Chapter 355. And number 4, the building, when altered or erected, and when occupied, will conform to all applicable provisions of the building and housing codes as the Commissioner of Building and as the Commissioner of Housing so certify.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll go ahead and turn to you. You want to tell us about your project?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. Oh, sorry. Did I cut somebody off?
No, go right ahead.
Okay, great. My name's Elizabeth. I own the home along with my husband. And when we purchased the home, it was fully marketed to us as a 3-family home. And the inspection was done as a 3-family home as well. The top floor, which I suppose used to be the attic, is, nearly fully finished. And we went to get permits to upgrade the electrical to the home. And in doing so, found out that we were restricted as it being a 2-family home. So we were quite surprised by that, obviously, and are now going through the process of hoping to get the approval today to upgrade it to 3-family. In terms of the limitations or the laws in the area, we are not planning to change the look of the home at all. It will remain exactly the same architecturally. You can see from the drawings that the top floor is already right there intact, and again, so it won't be changing. And also, we will not be marketing it, as a 2-bedroom, obviously. And so the smaller square footage, the more limited square footage, we feel is, completely appropriate for it being a 1-bedroom home in the area. And I believe that covers the issues. Did I miss anything? Or are there any questions I can answer? And Abe is also on at the meeting there. Abe is our property manager.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Chair, to the appellant, are you renting these as 3 separate apartments? Is that
We hope to. Of course, we are not right now because we're not able to. The electrical for the home does need to be upgraded, and we're again planning to do that. We already have a contractor identified, but we're not currently renting it as a 3-family home. But again, it was sold to us that way. We planned for income and things like that to be it as a 3-family home, and we're clearly not getting that, so that's the cause of the challenge for us.
And further to that point, can you please identify what the hardship is that you will face if these variances aren't granted today?
Yeah, of course. I'm a real estate agent out here in San Diego, and I do not have a 401k. So this home was purchased to help not only with current income, but also to eventually help with my retirement income and things of that nature. And again, it was sold to us as a 3-family home. We paid for it as though we were getting a 3-family home. And so the income is just not there, and we don't see that changing if this is not approved. And therefore, it will not provide the income that we kind of needed and expected both now and in the long term.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, my question is going to be either for legal or for Ms. Leonard. There's an extra portion of the standard that we're required to consider as it relates to the square foot of the lot area. Can either of you speak to whether that has been assessed and whether that's in compliance?
Sorry, is the question for me or for someone
No,
else in the room? Oh, okay. I thought so. Sorry.
I cannot speak to whether that has been assessed. No.
Okay, so it says that we're supposed to consider regulations on 355. What exactly are we considering as far as 355 goes?
Shannon under here, it's asking you to consider that the square foot of the lot area for each dwelling unit is in accordance with the regulations in chapter 355. So they do not meet the minimum lot area as stated in variance question number 2. And then the building, and as it relates to the building and housing codes, that would be something that would be checked after the zoning. So they have a full Ohio building code. But to have 3, basically it's essentially saying you change it from a 2-family to 3-family if they have the proper ingress, egress, things of that nature that makes it safe and habitable for more than what is permitted in this.
Okay, so is that something that we need to maybe place some conditions on today, or is that something that you're satisfied has been complied with?
I believe in terms of number 3, that if they don't meet the Ohio building code, they won't get their permit for occupancy.
Okay. Okay,
So I
thank you.
don't think it necessarily needs to be a condition.
But with respect to the square footage, they still need a variance for that because they don't meet the square footage requirements. Is that correct, Ms. Leonard?
That's correct, Ms. Ripcha.
Okay, thank you.
Mute the whole time. Okay, any comments from city planning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Xavier Bay representing City Planning. We're supportive of the variances requested today. It allows a diversity of housing typologies, and this administration is supportive of density. All I had to say.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bay. Is there any correspondence, Madam Secretary, on this one?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, any additional questions from the board?
I do have a question, Madam Chair. To the appellant can you share a little bit more about the intended use of the units? Do you have any plans for any short-term rentals, be it, like an Airbnb or a VRBO?
No, we are not planning to do that. We want this to remain single-family residences, long-term, 1-year leases, and no change to that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question.
Madam Chair,
Other questions?
this gentleman has anything to say? Are you? Oh, you're good? Okay.
Were you gonna ask a question? Go
Yeah,
right
so
ahead.
just Madam Chair, just clarification maybe from the planning department here. Is this particular home in a TOD area? And the reason why I'm asking is just as it relates to just parking. I'm kind of curious to know, out of the 3 homes that's there, it's not listed here, but what does that look like
Okay.
in terms of
Mhm.
accommodating the
Mhm.
3 units?
I believe it was on one of our drawings. You can see that there's enough space for parking of more than 3 cars in the driveway and the rear area. And I've Abe, I believe, can speak to that. That was a question that I know Abe and I spoke about, if there's a lot of parking in the area. Obviously the ideal is for residents to park on site, but if they don't want to worry about the tandem style parking, I do believe there's plenty of street parking in the area. And Abe has said when he's been in the area checking out the property or responding to tenant questions that there has been quite a bit of street parking as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Ms. Leonard, I can see your hand has raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning. So they are immediately south of a TOD area. So if they did not have the proper parking, they would need a parking variance because it's 1 parking space per dwelling unit. So in this case, they did not need the parking variance.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Does that answer your question, Mr. Madison? All right, I will entertain a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I move approval of calendar number 24-223.
All right, is there a second?
Second,
All right, call the vote.
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Mr. Madison,
yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar number 24-223 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday and we will send the appellants a letter. You can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Have a good day. All right, now I'm going to call calendar number 25-002. Is there an appellant present for this? Okay, very good. I'll turn it over to you to read the case in, Ms. Holzer.
Our next case is calendar number 25-002. This is at 711 East 152nd Street. Fernando Fontanez, owner, proposes to erect a 34-foot by 20-foot, 1-story wooden carport in a C1 multifamily residential district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. With that, I will hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and provide your address.
I do. David Harala, I represent DHA Architects at 7835 Oakhurst Circle, Brecksville, Ohio.
Can you spell your last name, sir?
Pardon
Can
me?
you spell your last?
Yes, Harala.
HARALA.
LA.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the call who's present for this case? Doesn't look like it. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Ms. Roca. History of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We found the property is actually located in a general retail business district, and it has been in the general retail business district since 1929. In our Records Administration Office, we found a permit was issued in 1913 to erect a 1-story storefront building. 1943, a permit was issued to replace roof over part of a store. 1974, a permit was issued to apply aluminum siding to a dwelling. 1974, also a permit was issued to repair vehicle damage to a building. There's one variance on file in calendar 99-520. And I believe it's the same owners. They were granted a variance to construct a two-story wood frame deck to an existing 66 by 24 two-story frame dwelling house. And that was issued on March 6, 2000. And that's all that I have that's relevant. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting area variances from the accessory structure requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the area variances, appellant must prove that denying the request will create a practical difficulty not generally shared by other land or buildings in the same district, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variances will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
All right. Thank you for that. Do you want to go ahead and give your comments?
Simply put, as you see in the top photograph, the area is used as a carport with no roof on it. And what we propose to do is create a roof with a small mansard on the front to kind of match the character of the house adjacent to it. The building to the left sits directly on the property line, and the house to the right also sits on the property line. The structure we're going to propose would have a small mansard on the front, as I said, to keep it in character, but this will be back 2 feet away from the property line, which is the inside of the sidewalk. The gate will remain. I don't know when that was put in, but that will remain. So all we're doing is covering a couple areas there for cars, creating a carport. There you go. Again, you see the sidewalk on the left, and it shows the building beyond to be right on that property line. The picture on the right just shows the construction of the gate. The center picture shows the house that is adjacent and the little porch that with the steps out of it, again, are right on the property line. So where you see that gate is going to be the extent of the overhang of this kind of a fake mansard. Yeah, the center detail shows the mansard with and supported by the structure that's already there. And we've shown an elevation on the lower right just to show that that mansard is flush with the top of the gate and will be shingled to match the house. Any other details I can explain?
Okay. Questions from the board?
Madam Chair, to the appellant, what is the structure in the back? Is that a,
Go back, yeah. Well, go back to the site plan on the survey. Yeah. Okay, that structure in the back is an existing building, was there. That's just right now kind of a garage, but it has no access into it. It's not big enough to park, cars that we have today. So I don't know what that was. It just a
it's part of
garage.
this property? It's the
Yeah.
same owner. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was kind of curious about, that if it was a different owner or not.
All right.
And then, also, if you could describe the difficulty you'll face if the variances aren't granted today.
Well, we're trying to keep the carport in line with that lower right-hand corner of the house. We know we exceed the area requirement for coverage by
creating this carport. I think we've exceeded it even prior to putting in the carport. So again, we're just looking for a roofed area to house a couple cars. We're trying to help set this back a little bit so that it's more in keeping with the line of the house, but that building to the right we can't do anything with that. So the difficulty is that we need that depth for the cars, and that's in keeping with the line of the house.
Thank you.
All right, any additional questions from the board? All right, statement from city planning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Xavier Bay representing City Planning. We don't see any issues with this. It's already an existing base structure there, and they're also keeping in line with the building line of the house there, so we don't see any issues with this.
Okay, any correspondence, Madam Secretary?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, motion to approve calendar number 25-002.
Okay, is there a second?
Board Member Holzer, I second. Oh, and Shannon just said that they don't need number 2.
They don't need number 2.
Okay,
And she was
noted. So we will note for the record that this vote is only pertaining to zoning request number 1, as it has been determined that number 2 is no longer needed. So I have a motion from Mr. Madison. I have a second from Ms. Holzer. Can we call the vote, please?
Ms. Roca?
Yes.
Ms. Holzer?
yes.
Mr. Madison?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Calendar number 25-002 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send you a letter, but you can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Do we need that letter to go back to the Building and Housing Department? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
All right, now I'm calling calendar number 24-213. Any appellant present for this matter? All right, I can see that we do have someone present. I'll turn to Ms. Holzer to read in the case.
Our next case is calendar number 24-213. This is at 3275 West 117th Street. Dave Tarditi, owner, proposes to change the use from auto body to print shop, auto body and print shop to auto rental and minor service garage in a local retail business district. The owner appeals for relief from the strict application of the Cleveland Codified Ordinances as stated in the agenda and the public record, of which there are 2. This case was postponed from January 13th at the request of the councilman to allow time for the appellant to meet with the community. No testimony was taken at that time. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ms. Roca for the oath.
Thank you, Ms. Holzer. I'm swearing in all who are present for this case. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Please raise your hand, reply with I do, state your name, spell your name, and give your address. Go ahead, sir.
I do. My name is Nathan Fuentes, NATHAN, FUENTES, address 3275 West 117th Street.
Thank you, sir.
I do. David Tarditi, TARDITI, address 3275 West 117th Street, 44111.
Thank you. Your mic's not on. Thank you. Sir, go ahead.
You can feel free to pull your chair up to the
Sure.
table.
David Rogers, Executive Assistant to Councilman Danny Kelly, Ward 11, address 601 Lakeside.
Thank you.
I do.
Chad Dasher, Associate Director, Westtown Community Development Corporation, 9926 Lorraine Avenue. I do.
How do you spell your last name?
Dasher, DASHER.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the call who would like to speak today? Seeing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Roca. I will turn now to the history of the property, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The property was originally zoned general retail in 1929. In 2001, it was changed to local retail business. In our Records Administration Office, we found very little. There was a violation notice issued in 1955 stating that there was an unauthorized use as auto repair and paint shop on the property in 1955. We did check our Sanborn map and found that there was a gas station on the property in around 1930s. We have several variances on file. calendar number 46, and this was in 1946 -239. This board denied a variance to establish use as a general repair garage. But then in 1999, a permit was, as a variance was granted in calendar 99-132 to establish use as auto repair and hand auto washing. That was conditionally approved. And then in calendar number 15-68, and that was in 2015, the board granted a variance to expand the non-conforming use to include motor vehicle sales. And there, a revised plan was submitted showing curb cuts and landscaping. I think that's all that I have that's relevant. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, legal, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, appellant is requesting a use variance from the requirements of the zoning code. To obtain the use variance, appellant must prove that denying the request will result in an unnecessary hardship particular to the property, such that there will be no economically feasible use of the property without the variance, will deprive the appellant of substantial property rights, and that granting the variance will not be contrary to the purpose and intent of the zoning code.
Okay, thank you for that. Who would like to speak first?
I will.
Okay, go ahead and state your name so that the record is clear about who's speaking.
Nathan Fuentes.
Okay.
First, I'd like to hand these out to each of you, if that's okay.
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 Thank you. You.
This one's a little different, but. So again, my name is Nathan Fuentes. I'm the owner of Daily Frequency Rentals. Basically, our mission is to provide convenience, daily transportation to individuals within Cleveland, helping them get from point A to point B. That's something that we've thrived on. We started this in 2022, and it is a high demand within Cleveland. Our goals are to keep our vehicles at high quality and give affordable pricing to people outside of the larger companies within Cleveland. And with that, the services we provide each of our customers is short-term and long-term rentals. We provide daily, we provide weekly and monthly. The types of vehicles are your economy cars. These are mid-size, full-size SUVs, vans, and electric vehicles as well. The individuals, our clientele, the individuals that usually get these vehicles are your everyday working individuals, whether it be vacation, business travel, their car breaks down, they need a long-term vehicle so they can buy a car. This is what we provide to them, and we try to give them affordable pricing as well. I do believe this helps Cleveland a lot. I do have some big goals within DFR. We're trying to create partnerships within hotels, local businesses, building them up. This helps them offer something as well, like rental cars. Within that, as a veteran, I am looking to partner up with the VA to offer job and career opportunities. And along with that, within Cleveland, if they're active duty and they do come home for a short-term period, the ages of 18 to 21, I want to be able to offer these individuals a car to rent. Just because if they can serve, I believe they can rent a vehicle. And within that, we do have long-term aspiration goals within the end of the year to be able to offer car giveaways within Cleveland. And I want to create a DFR startup grant for a Cleveland entrepreneur who's looking to, turn their vision to reality as well and offer support like entrepreneurship classes along with short workshops for them. I know within the variance, they were saying about the body shop, the auto repair and body work happening. I don't do body work or auto repair at all at the location. We're strictly a rental car company. All that is resourced. If we can go to the next one. So, oh, sorry, yeah, one more. Thank you. So everything that I do within my cars, whenever they need body work, auto shops, mufflers, paint work, tires, keys, windows. This is all outside of that location. It's all sent somewhere else. And the resources, we also have another lot. We have a partnership where we're actually able to hold 25 to 30 vehicles additional in the case, there was ever too many vehicles at the location.
Okay, does that conclude your remarks? Okay, would you like to speak next?
David Tarditi, owner of the building. Prior to Mr. Fuentes and myself agreeing to work together on as the occupancy of the building, we had numerous conversations to fully understand his business as well as the intended purpose of the building. I believe that all the parameters that are being raised today, the building as well as Mr. Fuentes is able to meet. And we will make certain that we are completely compliant with keeping all the vehicles on site, whether inside or outside of the building.
Okay. All right. I will turn to you next. Would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, Councilman Kelly's position, he's in committee now, is basically to support with concern though about the number of vehicles and where they would be stored. You just mentioned that there's another lot.
Yes.
We didn't know that before because there was some concern about if there's overflow parking, because there's not that many spaces on that. And he has a lot of vehicles, like if it's a slow time. You know what I mean? Like they could all end up on the street, which would drive residents crazy. Or other businesses there, the library parking lot's kind of, you can't see here, but it's very close. There's a vacant Rite Aid they're working to turn into a MedMart, but it's vacant now. So there's a lot of potential for overflow to end up where we wouldn't want it to be. But generally, he had a nice community meeting, although really nobody showed up, and that kind of happens sometimes. There was one resident did. She was real supportive. She really liked your idea, your entrepreneurial spirit. So she was supportive of it, but she had the same concern, as long as there's not cars up and down the street, that's fine, because as we all know, in Cleveland, parking can be a premium, and there's a residential street right behind it, West 116th. So, but yeah, that's really about it. There has been a history, just so you guys know, that generally speaking, automotive usages, in Ward 11, since I work in community development, Chadwell State and community development, we've been burned quite a few times. Repair shops, car sales lots that overflow and expand into the street. There's quite a few of them that the building department, Cleveland Police have to chase around. So we just don't want to get into another scenario like that. So, but it's basically the councilman feels he supports it. He just wants to be sure that there's not this overflow scenario or any issues with traffic on 117th coming and going, because that's a very, very busy track. In fact, I think that's the second busiest intersection on the west side is 117th and Lorraine. So,
Okay.
but basically just to support with some conditions and concerns.
Okay, so can you speak to, in terms of the operations of the car rental business, how many cars will you have on site and where will you park the cars?
Yeah, so total we have 70 vehicles, but for us to succeed, we have to keep high utilization. So I succeed by not having any vehicles on lot. So we try to sit around 85 to 90%. Within January and December, these are usually rental cars' slowest months. So I know for a fact we had around 83% in December and January. That would mean 14 cars total are somewhere. Half of those cars are usually, if they're not rented out, they're at the auto shops, they're at a body shop, they're going through an insurance claim process. So that means at the location throughout the whole month, there's probably 5 cars total. Within the garage itself, it can hold up to 20 to 25 cars behind, not including outside parking. So usually that's how many we would have in general. My goal is always to not have cars, but mainly, yeah.
Okay, and then what about cars for staff? Is that something that is accommodated in that
Yes.
count as well?
Yes, they'll be able to park in the front. I will base the decision on the utilization of customers coming in and out. It changes every day, so I'll kind of know if we have a lot of customers coming today or not. Depending on a Monday or a Friday, I'll let them park in the garage or I'll make sure they park outside in the customer. But I'll try to avoid customer parking because that'll be vehicle returns, vehicle pickup. So I'll try to make it a smooth process for everybody.
Okay, all right, very good.
Madam Chair, to that end, can you share, in addition to yourself, how many staff do you have? And if you were fully staffed up, how many
Yeah.
folks would be parking their cars
Yeah,
there?
so right now, I have 2 detailers and that is pretty much it. I run a lot of the operations. I'm looking to grow it to 5 people. Roughly there will be 8, but virtually, I'll need help with bookkeeping. I'm looking to have 24/7 like customer support on the virtual side. Just these things I've been thinking about. I'm growing it, but within the shop itself, roughly 5 people, 3 to 4 detailers. They'll be able to get trained in a customer service, so it's an opportunity for them to grow. And I'm gonna need a manager.
Okay. That answer your question?
I'd like to restate another point that Nathan spoke about, is that on a daily basis, I expect to see maybe 15 to 15 cars that will be overnight at the facility, and the building is able to support those 15. He may need to park 1 or 2 outside if in case there is a breakdown and one of his clients needs to exchange a car, they're able to pick up a car and whatever.
Okay.
So we believe that everything is going to be contained. We are not interested. I personally, I live in the city, I work in the city, and I play in the city of Cleveland. I am not, I do not want any cars parked on a residential street like 116th. There is no parking on West 117th where the
Right.
building is obviously in front of.
Mhm.
And I don't, I'm not certain, but there is a lot where we don't have access to that lot, and I don't believe there's overnight parking in that lot, but I'm not sure.
I think the neighbor next door, he uses it for like signage, just promotion for the street. That's really all that's there.
Okay. All right. So we've heard from Mr. Rogers. Do you want to give comment now?
Again, it's Chad Dasher, Associate Director, Westtown Community Development. In all transparency, you can go back to the 2015 decision when they came for the variance before, and I am on record for supporting that because it is a building that really doesn't have anything besides an automotive use. I would just like to echo Dave Rogers's comments. Our biggest concern was where, is there overflow parking and just not, lining these things up on the streets, but it sounds like they do have a plan. So we take the same stance as the council office, and Mr. Fuentes will change information after this. And if you are coming to a point where you are having some overflow, I can help you find places in the area where you can by code keep these vehicles. I'm also here to assist businesses in the area, not just come up and talk at BZA hearings. So, but yeah, I'd like, it is an automotive building. It always has been. And converting those over to some other use is very expensive, especially when you're dealing with the environmentals. But as long as there is a solid plan for not filling the neighborhood full of cars, we would be in support of it as well.
Okay. All right. Any comment from city planning?
Hello, this is Xavier Bay representing City Planning. Given the testimony of the extra space within the building to house the cars and the willingness of the acting Community Development Corporation to help storage as well, we would approve variances.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
Madam Chair, to the appellant, can you please describe the hardship that you will face today if the variances aren't granted?
We have put a lot of time and energy. We did have plan on moving on January 1st. We weren't able to do that due to this situation. But we put a lot of time and necessary money into the resources to prepare for the move. That didn't happen, and that would just become a financial loss.
Okay. Please.
As Chad stated, the building itself is a general retail type of building. I don't know what, I would be hard pressed to find a tenant under a local retail zoning requirement. Maybe I would live in it myself, but that's not required. That's not allowed either.
Right. Okay, any correspondence, Madam Secretary, on this? No correspondence? Okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move approval of calendar number 24-213.
All right, is there a second?
Madison, second.
All right, can we call the vote?
Ms. Roca,
Yes.
Mr. Madison,
Yes.
Ms. Holzer,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Calendar number 24-213 is granted. It'll be ratified next Monday. We'll send you a letter, but you can contact us next Wednesday for further instruction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good luck with your project. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah. Do you want them back?
I don't need them back. That's fine.
Oh, okay, I thought you might wanted to recycle them if you have another
Yeah,
presentation. They
thanks.
look pretty spiffy.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right, so that concludes our matters for today. I will move forward with old business, if I can find my sheet. All right, so we have before us calendar number 2, 3, and 4. Any objection to those?
No objection.
No objections.
No objection.
All right, without objection. And there are no affirmations or reinstatements, so that does conclude old business. And with that, I will adjourn our meeting at 10:52.